All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for day 9 of Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York City. Yesterday, Monday, was an off day, so we didn't have any trial yesterday. So today, coming back, if you're wondering where I was, it's because that court was not in session for Donald Trump's trial yesterday. But so far, a lot has happened. Judge Juan Merchan has decided to allow Donald Trump to attend his own son's graduation. How kind-hearted of him, right? But there are some stipulations. It depends on if the jury is going to be deliberating. And also, Donald Trump has been held in contempt. There were 10 counts that were proposed by the prosecution, and the judge says that they met their burden with 9 of those counts. So he's being fined $1,000 for each instance. So I believe that brings a total to $9,000 in total. And as it stands now, it looks like we've had 4 witnesses. Yes, 4 witnesses already, and the day is not even over. Of course, we have Gary Farro. He was testifying last week. He is going to be continuing to testify today. He is Michael Cohen's ex-banker. We have Robert Browning. He's an archivist on C-SPAN. We have Philip Thompson. He's a records custodian for Esquire Deposition, LLC. He's the one that provided a deposition from the E. Jean Carroll defamation case. And then we have Keith Davidson, who is Stormy Daniels' ex-attorney. So we got a lot to cover. But before we get into that, guys, let's listen to a little bit of what Donald Trump had to say before walking into the courtroom this morning.
The CNN poll was fantastic. So we're here. This is a hoax. This is a judge who's conflicted. Badly conflicted. I've never seen a judge so conflicted. And giving us virtually no rulings. I hear I'm not even allowed to say advice of counsel. This is a new one to me. Advice of counsel. When you have a lawyer and the lawyer does something or advises you on something, you say advice of counsel. He said you're not allowed to say that. And so you'll all figure it out. But I think the public has figured it out because the poll numbers are the highest they've ever been. And I appreciate you treated me, actually, I thought quite fairly, at least the people here, which is a lot of people. And I appreciate that.
So Donald Trump, of course, is continuing to speak out about this clown show of a trial that is being waged against him in the middle of a presidential election, no less, where he is not able to defend himself. But everyone else can go on the news, can go on live streams and trash Donald Trump. But let's get into the courtroom. Let's see what's happening today, guys. So it looks like Donald Trump has arrived. He's got a blue suit on. He's got a red tie on. He's looking sharp. He's taking photos. And then Trump leans over and whispers into Tom Blanche's ear. He's like, listen, man, you got to go get him today, Tiger. You got this. All rise. We have Justice Merchan entering the courtroom. He says, all right, Mr. Blanche, which days had you requested for the high school graduation? Blanche says, May 17th and June the 3rd. All right, well, it looks like we finished jury selection quickly, so I think Mr. Trump can attend the graduation on May 17th and June 3rd, but not if the jury is deliberating. I will now rule on contempt. On the 10 incidents, the people have met their burden on all but incident 1. Mr. Trump is fined $1,000 for each incident 2 through 3 and 4 through 10. Please bring in the witness, then the jury. Then we have, this is the order right here, where Donald Trump is ordered to pay $1,000 for each of the 9 violations of this court's lawful order by the close of business on Friday, May the 3rd of 2024. I love how they say lawful order, because I don't think this is lawful at all. All right, now we have our first witness, Gary Farro, continuing his testimony from last week. And Judge Merchan says, all right, Farro, welcome. People, prosecutor. Okay, let's focus on this First Republic document. What is it? Farro says, it's a signature card for Essential Consultants, LLC. Who are the signers? Only Michael Cohen. What are these documents? Tax ID number provided by the IRS. Well, where was the LLC formed? Delaware. Most LLCs I deal with are formed there. And this EIN, what is it? Like a social security number for a business, says Farro. Why did it take hours to open the account? Well, Michael Cohen is not our only customer. There are other things that take precedence. Well, did Mr. Cohen say it would be used to make a contribution on the behalf of a political candidate? No. Did any of the opening paperwork indicate that the account would be used to pay an adult film star? No, that is an industry we do not work with. Prosecutor, what's this? Farro says this is a transfer from Home Equity Line of Credit to Essential Consultants, LLC. And on this document, who is Laura Cohen? Well, that's Michael Cohen's spouse. How many people had to approve this? Farro says 2. What's this? Well, it's a wire authorization form from Essential Consultants. What is the listed purpose? It's a retainer. That's what Michael Cohen told us. Well, what's this? An outgoing wire transfer form, an internal document. Then the prosecutor brings up People's Exhibit 378. He said, what's this? Farro says it's an email to Michael Cohen that wire's on the way. I guess in the email message, it says that wire's on the way. Well, who was it wired to? It was wired to Keith Davidson and Associates. Well, did any of this say it was on behalf of a political candidate? No. No further questions, says the prosecutor. Then Bertrand says, all right, defense, would you like to cross-examine the witness? Now we have Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, and he says, good morning, Gary Farro. Says, before today, you met with the people. Farro says, please explain, what does the people mean? Blanche says, the prosecutors, you met with them last year? Yes, once and twice this year. Did you meet with any other law enforcement? Yes, in D.C. When did you go to D.C.? In 2018. Who's paying for your lawyer today? Farro says, Flagstar, my employer. Not Chase? No, Flagstar. You opened Michael Cohen's account, correct? Farro says, I don't do the paperwork. Well, you said Mr. Cohen was difficult, right? Yes, his desire that everything be done quickly. I try to rationalize with clients that things may not be so urgent. Well, as of March 23, 2023, was Cohen still your client? No, he wasn't. Once this information came out, I was taken away from the relationship with Michael Cohen. Blanche asks, are you familiar with the term de-risking? Farro says, I'm not familiar with that term. Blanche says, if the bank no longer wants a customer. But you had no reason to think Mr. Cohen was opening up a shell corporation. What if he had told you? Farro says, I would not have opened it unless it was to own a home or a yacht or a jet to keep ownership confidential. Well, do you remember getting an email bounce back on March 17th, 2017, telling you Michael Cohen was now President Trump's personal lawyer? Farro says, yes, but that was an errant email. Blanche asks, what's a PEP? Farro says, politically exposed person. Well, are you aware that an official's lawyer is also considered a PEP? Farro says, I was not aware of that. And if he had been identified as a PEP, objection! Blanche rephrases the question. He says, let me ask it this way. If you have ever had a PEP, what does it entail? Farro says, we monitor them. Blanche asks, in September 2017, did Michael Cohen say he needed to speak with you? Farro says, I do not remember. You never spoke with Michael Cohen about Donald Trump? No. And you never spoke with President Trump? No. No further questions. Bertrand says, all right, redirect. The prosecutor says, why was Michael Cohen cut off? Farro says, for not telling the truth. No further questions. And now we have a recross, and Todd Blanche asks, did the shutdown mean that appropriate due diligence wasn't done in the first place? Farro says, not necessarily. And then we have no further questions for Gary Farro. All right, now they take their morning recess. Bertrand says, all right, jurors, let's take our morning recess. The jurors leave. The prosecutor says, I'm handing up agreed redactions. The red ones are those still in dispute. In this one, in the midst of the negotiations around Stormy Daniels, Miss Rodriguez says, shady, S-H-I-T. And he continues, in this one, it says Daily Mail is afraid of Trump. Miss Rodriguez is not alleged to be a co-conspirator, unlike Dylan Howard. So they are not coming in for the truth of the matter asserted. Of these three, we can live without the first one. Trump's lawyer Blanche says, well, these could confuse a jury. Shady, even with a limiting instruction. The Daily Mail is scared of Trump. That's hearsay. That's our very strong belief. Bertrand says, all right, I'll roll after break. Anything else? Then we have another prosecutor who says, with today's finding of contempt, we would intend to cross-examine the defendant if he chose to testify. We are ready for a Sandoval hearing. Then Blanche says, well, we haven't read it yet. Bertrand says, all right, read it and then respond. Then we have prosecutor 2 who says, we should be able to elicit evidence about the defendant's harassment online of Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels in light of the opening statements. Then Blanche says, well, there should be a proffer. We will cross-examine about bias, sure. Prosecutor, it shows consciousness of guilt. Blanche says, well, President Trump was speaking about Cohen's plea in the Southern District of New York, where President Trump was never charged. Bertrand, all right, do you need a ruling on that? Prosecutor says, by Thursday would help us. And Bertrand says, all right, well, see you in a few minutes. So they are back, and it looks like Judge Bertrand and the prosecutor are talking about this people's exhibit that they want to show the jury, introduce into evidence. And Bertrand says, well, the defense opened the door. I think they have. But what can it be used for? We can use it to rebut, for example, that they are not making as much money as people think. Prosecutor says, so People's 171 is in with redactions. And now they're talking about a juror who wants to fly on May the 24th. And they agree that that's okay. And then the jury enters. Merchan says, we will not be working May 17th or May 24th. And then the prosecutor calls Robert Browning. And then we have the questioning. The prosecutor says, what is your job? Browning says, I'm an archivist at C-SPAN. Was C-SPAN subpoenaed by the district attorney of New York? Yes, we turned videos over. Can you recognize Donald Trump? Yes. Do you have the NC rally in October of 2016? Yes. Prosecutor says, we offer into evidence. Let's play it. Then we got Trump on the screen saying, it's a phony deal. I have no idea who these women are. They get some free fame. Prosecutor, Dr. Browning, is that a portion? Browning says, yes, it is. Prosecutor says, next exhibit. Then we have Trump in front of a Trump Pence sign saying these are all lies. Then in front of flags, Trump speaks on Michael Cohen. Prosecutor says, no further question. Merchan, all right, your witness defense. And Todd Blanche says, we have no questions. And now the people call Philip Thompson from Esquire Deposition Solutions, LLC. And the prosecutor says, you are a records custodian, correct? Thompson says, yes, and I'm under subpoena. Well, did you turn over the transcript and video of an October 22nd deposition in Carroll versus Trump? Yes. It was October of 2022. Please play. And then they have the YouTube video linked right here. And it's over 45 minutes long, so I'll spare you guys that. Prosecutor says, please read the transcript. Then Thompson, reading from the transcript, he says, Ms. Kaplan, are you familiar with the Access Hollywood tape? The answer is yes. Prosecutor says, okay, no further questions. And then Todd Blanche says, we don't have any questions. And Judge Merchan says, all right, you can step down. All right, now the prosecution calls Keith Davidson, and he is Stormy Daniels' ex-attorney. And they ask, how old are you, Mr. Davidson? Keith Davidson says, 53. I graduated from Boston College and Whittier Law School. Davidson and Associates, we do media cases. Prosecutor says, any sexual abuse cases? Yes. In 2015 to 2017, did you use non-disclosure agreements? Yes. Do you know Gina Rodriguez? Yes, she manages reality TV type talent. And have you represented Gina Davidson? And then he answers and corrects him. He says, Gina Rodriguez. And then the prosecutor apologizes and he continues, how about Dylan Howard? Davidson said, a friend. Sometimes we work together, overlaps with tabloid media. Well, did you negotiate the sale of certain stories to tabloids? He says, rarely. Are you familiar with David Pecker? Davidson answers, yes. AMI and the National Enquirer, Dylan Howard's boss, I've only dealt with him about 4 times in my life. Prosecutor continues, and how about Michael Cohen? Yes, about my client, Miss Clifford, also known as Stormy Daniels. Do you recognize this thumb drive? Yes, I purchased these records pursuant to a subpoena. Do you know Karen McDougal? Yes, I met her 25 years ago. She was dating a friend of mine. Then I represented her about a personal interaction she had. Well, with who? Donald Trump. Her brother-in-law, Jake, linked us. Now look at this retainer. What does this mean? Davidson said, there were exclusive arrangements with media outlets in exchange for money. Prosecutor, did you inform Miss McDougal that you could negotiate for her? Davidson said, I won't discuss our communications. Well, let's look at your text messages with Dylan Howard. Expand them. What does this mean? Davidson said that he would get more for this story than anyone. David Pecker published Trump magazine. AMI had implied that they had endorsed Mr. Trump's candidacy. Well, did you arrange a meeting between Miss McDougal and Dylan Howard? Yes, Johnny Crawford was also there. He's a friend of Karen's, a police officer from Arizona. We discussed the personal interaction of Miss McDougal with Donald Trump. Well, since this is in front of others, what did Miss McDougal say? Davidson, that she had a romantic affair of several weeks or months with Donald Trump some years ago. Well, what was the purpose of meeting? Davidson answers, it was sort of a proffer session. Dylan said he would go back to New York and run it up the flagpole. Who? Davidson, Pecker, but they did not buy it right away. They said Karen McDougal did not have enough documentary evidence. Davidson continues, I said, don't forget Michael Cohen. The girl is being cornered by the estrogen mafia. What did you mean? Davidson says, it was a regrettable text I sent. There are several women leaning on Karen to sign the deal with ABC. Well, how did Dylan Howard reply? Davidson, that they would have an offer for us by Monday. He said, get me an offer, all in, perhaps a fitness component. She wanted to rejuvenate her career. She wanted to avoid the scarlet letter being the other woman. Then Dylan said, we are going to lay it on thick for her. Karen was teetering between National Enquirer versus ABC. I said, throw it in an ambassadorship for me. I'm thinking the Isle of Man. It was sort of a jest. The prosecutor says, well, why was that funny? Well, I don't think that the Isle of Man is even a country, so there is no ambassador there. It was a reference to Donald Trump that if this helps him and he won, there would be jobs. Prosecutor, well, what did Dylan Howard write? Davidson answers that she'll get more than from ABC. And now Judge Bertrand says, all right, let's take our lunch break. Juries leave, and we will cover what happens after lunch in a video later on today. But that's what we have going on today, guys. 4 witnesses so far. And right now, Stormy Daniels' ex-attorney is testifying. The prosecution is asking him questions. And I assume this is probably going to take the rest of the day. And then we're probably going to have a cross by Donald Trump's lawyers coming up very soon. But what do you guys think of this? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.